But yeah, thank you for letting me know how you're doing. I saw some green and yellows. I'm glad to hear y'all are chill, feeling happy. It has been Brayden. I'm not sure what's going on. Valiant's feeling carefree. Alejandra's relaxed. That's nice. Great. And we got some good news from Cameron, so I'm glad you shared it with us, Cameron. Okay, let's get going then, because we've got a lot to do today. So, we are moving on with cells. We're talking about organelles specifically today. And we've got a lot of vocabulary terms. This is a very vocab heavy unit. So let's jump into it. Here's our do now. I know that, like I said, it's been laggy today, but we'll try and see if it'll work. In the chat box, write 2 to 3 sentences comparing and contrasting prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Use the following terms: nucleus, cell wall, cell membrane, plant cell, bacteria, and ribosomes. So you're writing 2 to 3 sentences in the chat box. I know it's laggy. We'll give it 5 minutes and then we'll go from there. Yeah, but we're all fighting it, so let's just cross our fingers. Afternoon, Cheyenne.
Wait, sir, can we put in our answer already?
Yeah, you can go put the answer in the chat box.
Okay, thank you.
Let's cross our fingers, see if it works. Hi, Kaylee. Oh, very nice, Brayden. Good job. About a minute left. Thank you, Hugo. Hi, Jonathan. I got your message, by the way. Oh, very nice. So both Hugo and Bryden put in very good responses. Hi, Brian.
What?
Hugo, would you mind coming off mute and explaining yours?
Wait, did you say Brighton?
Hugo.
Oh, yeah. I just said that eukaryotes are different from prokaryotes because eukaryotes carry a nucleus, and like plant cells, right? They carry they also have cell walls and cell membranes. They have both, right? But animal cells only have cell membranes. And what's it called? Prokaryotes are mostly bacteria and stuff like that. Also, eukaryotes are fungi.
Very good. So an example of eukaryote would be fungi, as well as plants and animals. Good job. Josiah, I like that you got some definitions there, but I was looking for some sentences. So it's taking those definitions and merging them into a sentence. Thank you, Faye. Oh, I want to read Faye's. Let's see. Compared to eukaryotes, prokaryotes have no nucleus. They both have a cell wall, cell membrane, and ribosomes. Prokaryotes are mostly found as bacteria. A plant cell is an example of eukaryote. Look at that. Excellent. Good job, Faye. Both you and Bryden. And thank you for those of you who submitted responses. I know that the chat's being super laggy today, so I understand. So let's go ahead and move on to what I did. So here's what I wrote. Prokaryotes do not have a nucleus or any membrane-bound organelles, but eukaryotes do. Both plant cells and bacteria have a cell wall, but eukaryotes don't. Oop, I missed that. That's a mistake. I should have put, but animal cells don't. I'm going to fix that right now. Because remember that plant cells and animal cells are eukaryotes. That's what I meant to say. Bacteria, plant cells, and animal cells all have cell membranes and ribosomes. So yeah, some of y'all were better than my response. So thank you for that. Good job. Okay, I wanted to include a Venn diagram here to show you everything between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Does anybody want to come off mute and say what both prokaryotes and eukaryotes have in common?
I can.
Go for it.
They both have ribosomes. They both have DNA. They both have uh, cytoplasm. And they both have a cell membrane, and they both have some have flagella.
Very good. Does anybody remember what a flagella is?
Isn't it just like the stuff that's inside it holding everything together?
Not the flagella.
Isn't it a splinter that isn't it a splinter that has structure and has bacteria?
I'm not sure what that meant, but Timothy put something pretty good. A tail-like thing. That's just right. Cameron too. So remember that cells don't have legs, right? They can't just get up and walk around. So what they have are they have these modified structures. Flagella was one of them. It's that big tail-like thing that kind of whips back and forth. I know you don't want to think about it, but we are talking about it this year. When you think of like sperm cells, they have that big long tail thing flapping out the back. That is a flagellum. Cells also have what are called cilia, which are like tiny little hair-like projections that like are. If you ever seen those old movies with like the Greeks and Romans on their boats, and they have all these oars out the side, and since they have like so many people rowing, the boats go real fast. It's the same thing with cilia on a cell. There's all these little hair-like projections that move back and forth and helps the cell kind of move around. And then another thing called like pseudopodia. So you might have heard of like a blob, like blobs moving around. The blob doesn't have any legs or anything, right? It just kind of like moves. That's called pseudopodia. So pseudo means like fake, and podia means feet. So they have like fake feet. Anyway, we'll talk about cell transport later. But yeah, flagellum. Just remember that prokaryotes, very simple. Eukaryotes, very complex. Eukaryotes having all those organelles, and then prokaryotes really just having ribosomes and that nucleic acid, but not a nucleus because that's eukaryote. Okay, so our objective for today. Can I get somebody to read it for us, please?
I can.
Yeah, all right.
Students will be able to identify
Students will be able to identify
Hey,
cellular.
Brandon, somebody was already reading it, buddy.
All right, I'll let her read.
He can read it. I don't really care.
It's fine. You pretty much
Okay,
got it.
fine, I'll read it.
Thank you, Zarya. So we're basically identifying cellular organelles and describing their functions. I think for the most part, this should be mostly a review because I think organelles is something that are covered a long time ago in your early life science classes. So we're not going to spend too much time going over it, but I did want to make sure that we touch on it because it is something covered on the STAR. So this was what I was having trouble with. I had an assignment posted in Teams that was the guided practice and independent practice. I'm not sure if it ever submitted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link in the chat box to a Google document. So I'm going to check Teams one more time. I don't think that I see the assignment. So the Google Doc link that I posted. Oh no, wait, is it there? It says it's there. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you see it in your assignments. It's posted, but I don't think that you can see it. Like normally, whenever I post an assignment, it says 5 out of 100 people haven't turned it in or whatever. But it's not telling me anything. It doesn't show anything. It just says when I click on it, it says we're distributing your assignment to students now. Please check back later. So that to me,
what is it called?
It's called GPIP cell organelles.
GP. Yeah, I don't have it.
Yeah, I don't think I'll do. So I went ahead and put the link for our guided practice in the chat. So go ahead and get there, and then you can make a copy of it from that. I'll have to let Casey in. Yeah, so when you get to that form, I'm sorry, not a form, but when you get to the document, go ahead and make a copy. That way we can all work on it together. So I'll give you all a minute to get there to make a copy. If you don't know how, you can always just go here to File and then make a copy. Very simple. Now we're going to be editing this document live. So that's why I wanted you to make a...
Oh, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I just got the independent practice on assignments tab.
Really? Did it actually load? That's hilarious. Oh, yeah, it says it's posted. Great. Okay, then you can use that one instead because I'm going to be editing this Google Doc. Wow. Almost perfect timing. So thank you, Hugo. Thank you, Justine, for letting me know. All right. So what this is we have a list of organelles. We've got function description, and then how can I remember it? There are so many organelles to remember, and it's really complicated, and it's hard because it's all new vocabulary for you, right? For the most part. I'm sure that you've talked about nucleus before, mitochondria before, but what are they? What do they do? I thought instead of me just talking about it, I thought it'd be more fun just to go ahead and work through one of these worksheets together. So you'll see down here, there's function statements and then memory suggestions. So the memory is the kind of things to help you remember the organelle, and these are going to be, of course, the functions. So I'm just going to copy and paste. So down here, we've got captures energy from the sun and uses it to produce food in a plant. Anybody know what that is? That would be a chloroplast. So chloroplasts are specific to plants. They are what are responsible for photosynthesis. I'm also going to take off all my bullets. Boop. Oh, wait, no, I don't want to do that. I'll do it later. Okay. Yeah, so chloroplasts produce food from the sun, right? Plants are outside. They need sunlight so that they can make food. Chloroplasts are the organelle that makes that possible. Now, controls what comes in and out of the cell found in both plant and animal cells.
that the cell membrane?
It is. Good job. How about gel-like fluid where the organelles are found?
Cytoplasm?
Excellent. See, this is easy. Now, control center of the cell contains DNA. Tricky, right? We've got nucleus and nucleolus. Stick with what you know. The nucleus is what contains DNA. The nucleolus is actually like a little mini nucleus. So I think I showed it down here in this picture. So here we have the nucleus, right? The nucleus holds the DNA, that's what we know. Now, the difference is that there is another structure inside the nucleus called the nucleolus. Now, for the most part, the DNA is in the nucleus, but there is a little bit of extra stuff in the nucleolus. It's mostly something called RNA, which we'll talk about later, but it's still important for cell division and all this stuff. So there's a little mini nucleus inside the nucleus called the nucleolus. So on the star, when it comes to it, remember, the DNA is in the nucleus, that's true, but there is a little nucleolus that has stuff too. Just make sure you keep it straight. All right, so inside the nucleus produces ribosomes. That's going to be our nucleolus. Okay, rigid outer layer of a plant cell. So what distinguishes a plant cell from an animal cell on the outside? I'll give you a hint. Starts with a C, ends with an L.
Mitochondria.
So close. But since we are talking about mitochondria, how about produces the energy a cell needs to carry out its functions? Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. The reason it's called that is because it produces energy.
Lysosomes.
Lysosomes. Do you know what lysosomes are? We've got
Sadly,
1, 2,
no.
3, 4, 5, 6. 1 out of 6 odds. Pretty good. I will say that lysosomes use chemicals to break down food and worn out cell parts. So what happens is the cell is constantly having to make sure that it does repairs. I know that none of you probably own sailboats, but there's like a common saying that whenever you buy a sailboat, you're basically just committing to small renovations for the rest of your life because boats need constant repair. It's the same thing with cells. So these lysosomes help keep the cell working. Because like if you think about a boat's made of wood, right? Wood's on the water. What is going to happen? It's going to get full of rot. It's going to break down. It's going to just be bad news all the time, right? So sailors have to make sure that they're always constantly maintaining those boats. So I'm talking more like, private boats, not like war tanks or anything. Boats that are made of wood. They require a lot of work to make sure they don't like just rot to death. So lysosomes do the same thing in the cell. They make sure that they keep the cell working right, make sure they get rid of stuff that's too old or not working correctly. Next, receives proteins and materials from the ER, packages them, and distributes them. Now this one's pretty specific. But I will say, if it's packaging things, I know that that's going to be a Golgi body. And I'll explain why in a little bit.
What's the purpose of a Golgi? Whatever that was. Golgi body.
So what the Golgi bodies do is that they receive protein, they package them, they distribute them. So remember that proteins are kind of like what the cell needs to do stuff, right? So I mentioned, I think a long time ago, that if you pull your hair out, your body got to make new hair. The reason it knows to do that is because it senses that something is wrong, something needs to be replaced. So it goes to the DNA, reads the DNA, makes the proteins that are required to make hair, and then that protein is kind of shipped out of the cell and then goes to where it needs to go to make a hair cell. So it's a very kind of long process, but those proteins are kind of the intermediary messengers. So they kind of carry the information you need to do stuff. So the Golgi body then receives that protein from the DNA, from the nucleus, and then that is what's shipped out. Okay, assembles amino acids to create proteins. These are going to be ribosomes. So when we talk about how bacteria, and eukaryotes both have ribosomes? It's because they're both alive. And proteins pretty much do everything. So if you've ever been to like Sunday school, they say that Jesus is the answer to every question, right? In biology, it's going to be proteins. Proteins are almost always the answer to everything. Proteins just do everything. All right, stores food, water, and waste, other materials. This is going to be a vacuole. Has passageways that carry proteins and other materials from one part of the cell to another. This is going to be the endoplasmic reticulum, also called the ER. And last but not least, tiny strands inside the nucleus. So when we're talking about the DNA inside the nucleus, the DNA itself is referred to as chromatin because it's the genetic material. DNA itself is just like, you know, A to T, C to G, like you see those letters that represent DNA. So when you're referring to the actual material, that's called chromatin. I don't know why biologists wanted to make it so difficult, you know, and have all these words for everything, but that's just how it is. Okay, so there we go, right? Look at all these words and information, and this just goes in out one ear and out the other, right? A couple of these I think are pretty easy, just because you've been around it long enough that you kind of know the difference. But let's think about some ways we can remember it a little better. So, make me something sweet to eat. Which one of these do you think makes sugar? I mentioned it a second ago with plants. Whoop, where'd it go? That's going to be
glucose?
Yeah, so that's glucose, and it's going to be chloroplasts. So chloroplasts, like I said, those are the organelles inside of a plant that convert the sunlight into sugar. So maybe something sweet to eat, going to be the chloroplast. Members only, come and go. What regulates what goes in and out of the cell?
Cell wall.
Close, the membrane. So the cell wall is mostly for support. It's like a structure kind of thing. Like think about a wall, right? A wall isn't really meant to be gone through. Walls are there to kind of support structures. The cell membrane, though, is what regulates what comes in and out. So members only, membrane, members, right? There you go. I'm a golden packer. That's why I said I knew Golgi, right? G-O-L for golden, and G-O-L for Golgi. I know it's dumb. It's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but I learned this when I was in 6th grade about golden packer, and I've never forgotten it. Because it's really easy to get Golgi body and endoplasmic reticulum kind of confused. But if you think that I'm a golden packer, then boom, Golgi, packs, done.
Mr. Raymond, so basically when it says max function statements and memory suggestions to the organelle, doesn't that mean we got to use these function statements?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we put the function statements in already. Now we're on to the memory ones.
Brick
Okay,
wall.
so I said this one a second ago. Brick wall. That's
Cell
going to
wall.
be cell wall. Very good.
A big brain.
Little nucleus. We mentioned a second ago as well.
No. What was it, the one that's called? Nucleolus. There you go.
There you go. Very good. Transporter, right? So like the golden packer, this one makes it really easy. If you think of transporter, it's transporting things. Endoplasmic reticulum.
Endoplasmic.
There you go.
Has passageways that carries proteins and raw materials from one part.
Mighty mitochondria. Well, it's one of those things, like I distinctly remember in 6th grade learning about the mighty mitochondria, and ever since then I've never been able to like get that on my head. It's like whenever I say mitochondria, I have to like restrain myself from saying mighty mitochondria every time. It's just drilled into my brain for some reason. I don't know why. Okay, I clean things up. Hint, Lysol. So which one of these is responsible for cleaning up messes? The lysosome. So that hint of Lysol is to help you think about cleaning. So I clean things up. Those are lysosomes. So again, they break down food, but they also break down stuff inside the cell that's no longer working. I store anything. Hint, vacuum bags. Vacuum bags sounds like vacuoles, and that's what stores stuff. I don't know why it's doing double on this one. Is it this? There we go. Sail through my plasma. I didn't like this one, but I couldn't think of another clever one for it. So sail through my plasma kind of sounds like cytoplasm. I don't love it, but I couldn't think of anything else. Whenever I think of cytoplasm, I think of Jello. Whenever you put like the fruit in Jello, it's like cytoplasm. I am a tin of information. That's going to be chromatin. I am the control center. So this is, of course, the thing that's in control.
Nucleus.
That's going to be the nucleus. Very good. And last but not least, we have...
Ribosomes or ribosomes. Whatever.
Yeah, I make some nice proteins. Ribosome, right? So like I said, these are kind of dumb, but they're meant to be like memory tricks to help you remember because there's just so much, right? So you've got some function descriptions. You've got how you can remember it. And this covers, I think, like 90% of everything you need to know about these organelles. Now, I left off one or two of them just because they're not super tested on the star. I included these because these are like 99% sure you're going to see them on the star in some form or fashion. There are a lot more, like there's at least 3 other ones like peroxisomes and a cytoskeleton, but those are more like Bio2 concepts, so I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, so look at that, we did it. We're all done. Isn't that great? Now, I thought it'd be more fun to do it this way as opposed to just watching a video because at least this way you're kind of like moving stuff back and forth. You can make connections between the different terms and the function and memory statements. Now, we're going to make it a little bit more complicated and we're going to go to our independent practice. So let me stop sharing this and start sharing the other thing. This is now when you take that knowledge and you start doing something with it. Okay. So, on your independent practice, these first couple are going to be about talking, like you got to use sentences to explain what's happening, and then down here is pretty simple, just identify, not too hard. So I was going to help you with one of these first, because I didn't really talk about it much in that other thing. This one. So there is an organelle that's responsible for detoxification. It's called a peroxisome. Now, like I said, I don't expect it to be on the star. I don't think that I've ever seen it. And if it was, I think they would probably tell you what it was. Anyway, so just like a normal person, right, cells can also be poisoned by chemicals or free radicals, which are like oxygen that's super reactive, and so it can like hurt the cell. So the peroxisome is an organelle that's supposed to help the cell survive. So the point of this is to say which organelle has malfunctioned and explain your reasoning using a complete sentence. So an organism will be poisoned because the cell can't detoxify poisons, drugs, or alcohol. So the peroxisome has malfunctioned. The reason it has, or I guess the reason it is not working is because the function of the peroxisome is to detoxify. And if you don't know what that means, like toxic means bad, right? Like something is bad for you. So to detoxify means to make it, make it safe. Specifically, I mean, this is getting real nerdy. What peroxisomes do is that they take a lot of these free radical stuff and they turn it into like water and oxygen. So there's something called reactive oxygen species. It's usually produced as a result of like stress or things you eat, and it can damage your body. It's one of the main causes of aging. So what they do is they take it, and I think your body internalizes it as hydrogen peroxide, which is H2O2, And the peroxisome breaks that H2O2 down to H2O, which is water, and then O2, which is oxygen. So it's pretty interesting. It takes something really dangerous and creates something that your body needs. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, so that's kind of an example of what it is that we're looking for here. What is the organelle and why is it bad that it's not working? Okay, so I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to work on this. It shouldn't take you too long, and then we're going to move on to the exit ticket. Okay, are there any questions before we move on? Is all of this going to be on a test? Eventually, probably. So for sure, you're going to have a star at the end of the course, right? Star questions are not going to be super straightforward like this. They will be asking you about organelles in a very roundabout kind of way, specifically when it comes to mitochondria and the not cytoplast, the chloroplast, because those have to do with a lot of other stuff we'll talk about later. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start the timer. You got about 10 minutes to work on this. Remember the guided practice we did together, so that's already half the assignment done. Now you're just working on this, and then we're going to move on to our exit ticket.
Sir, can I look at the last stuff we did?
The guided practice?
The one, the independent practice, you did one, right?
Yeah, I'll pull it back up. This one?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm not sure why you're shy, Hadassah, but it's okay. I'm sorry, not Zyla. Zaria is repeating everything that we're thinking. Everybody's hungry. Okay, so let me turn on this. This one. And here we go. Okay, hopefully that was enough time to get that finished. Like I said, it wasn't too long. I'm going to go ahead and post the link for the exit ticket in the chat, but of course, like always, it is posted in assignments. I knew for sure that one was posted because I saw that one. So give me 1 second. Let me post that. Copy. Keep in mind that this one is a little bit harder than normal because we are doing stuff that I think is relatively simple. I wanted to see if I could challenge you with something more complicated. So there are 2 claim evidence reasoning questions. So again, what I'm looking for on those, complete sentences, looking for a claim, evidence, and reasoning. If you finished, you can of course go to your CK through 12, start reading that. I guess I could give more work, but I really don't want to give you a whole lot more work. Yeah, just stick with CK through 12. Oh, right, sorry. Oops, there we go.
Correct. How am I supposed to do this? This is driving me crazy.
Okay, it is 2:55. I'm going to go ahead and start reading off the names from the forms. I will say a couple of you were just copying and pasting from Google, I noticed, so be careful with that because I won't give you credit for that. Robert, Jacob, Pharrell, let me talk music. All right. Terrell, Miguel Gallegos, Cheyenne, Caden, Valian, Gabriel, Shinobi, Nadja, Janae, Ayana, Gigi, someone called Baby, it's funny. Brandon, Denise, Lauren, Angel, Liza, Grace, Andalyn, Robert Acosta, Kaylin, Jacob Ibarra, Angel Vasquez, Ayla, Hannah, Tatiana, Hugo, Kaylee, Hadassah, Brian, Eddie, Hamza, Alan. You guys are pretty good. I thought that first question might trick you. Justine. But yeah, thank you all for turning your exit ticket in. Make sure you get it in before the end of the day. It is 2:55. You can head off to your den for SEL time. Thank you all for working hard today. I know it was a lot of information, but again, we're still starting out with this unit, so we still got some time to process it. And of course, we have our 4-day weekend to look forward to. Well, 4-day weekend for y'all. Yeah, y'all are good to go. If you've turned in your exit ticket, like I know that you have, Kaylee, you are free to go. If you have not, then you still got a few minutes to get it turned in. I hope that this is good practice. You know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You do have an exam over this material at some point, so getting those CERs might be a good idea to really work on those. I'll see you in den, Kaylin. Once again, thank you all for giving hard work, for doing your best. Thank you, Casey. Bye, Zaria. Thank you for your help today.
Bye, Mr. Martinez.
Bye. Thank you, Jimena, Melanie, Amian, Alex. Alexis, Shakira, oh, good job, Shakira. I like your answers. Kadarian, Dominic, Ali. You still got time, Faye. Don't worry about it. Oops. Okay, we got 20 seconds until 3. Again, thank you guys for turning in your exit ticket. If you haven't, make sure that you get it to me before the end of the day. You still got time. Remember, these are daily grades. I do take these as your daily grade, so make sure that you get it done as soon as you can. In the meantime, go ahead, head to Den. Thank you guys for being here today. All right, bye.
Sir.